Hello everyone, my name is drgdsharma and you are watching Inglit, and in this video we have solved some of the important questions on Shakespeare that have been already asked in various examinations of UPTGT and PGT. Along with the solution of these questions, we have explained them in detail so that you may get other informations of note as well. This will be primarily helpful for your upcoming examinations of UPTGT and PGT. So let us start the video. The very first question that came in UPTGT 2010, our bodies are our gardens to which our wills are gardeners. The above words from the speech of Hamlet, Viola, Iago or Brutus, and the correct answer is it was spoken by Iago. Iago said these words in Act 1, Scene 3, and they were addressed to Roderigo. The speech clearly defines the state of mind and his motives. He says that our bodies are our gardens. Whatever kind of thing we plant in it, the result will be as such. If we plant suspicion, so result will be accordingly. If we plant faith, then the result will be accordingly. So he proves by this line that he is a master manipulator, and with the same tact he has infected the mind of Othello. He planted suspicion in the mind of Othello. Othello was compelled to do accordingly. So he knew that the mind can be manipulated. The psyche can be manipulated as such, and it is his observation about the human nature that proved him to be such a villainous character. The play is Othello, and the subtitle of this play is The Moor of Venice. The setting of this play is Venice itself. Venice is in Italy. It is one of the four great tragedies of Shakespeare. So the genre it belongs to it, tragedy. It was written in 1604, or broadly speaking, it was written between 1602 to 1604. However, this date has been used and written in various books, the authentic books, so you can rely on this date. The tragedy was written in 1604. Tell you that Unacademy has brought end of 2020 mega batch launch. They are starting new batches for NTA NET paper 1 and various other subjects of paper 2. So they are starting multiple batches for UGC NET, and the batches are starting from 22nd of December, and they will help you crack UGC NET examination. With the help of these batches, you can boost your preparation and build your concepts. The top educators will be covering the complete syllabus of paper 1 and various subjects of paper 2. These courses have been curated in such a way that includes strategy, tips, tricks, practice questions and time management techniques for NT-NET JRF 2021. You can enroll right now before the price hikes by the link that is given in the description box below. Only a few days left for the price hike. It will be from 25th of December. So before it, you can enroll yourself and get the benefit of the existing subsidized or discounted rates. The batches have already begun from 22nd of December. So as it is shown in the picture that various educators have started their batches or will be starting their batches on certain dates. You can refer to that and enroll yourself accordingly. In quarto form it was published in 1622, and finally in first folio it came in 1623. First folio. Quarto versions were the corrupted or the inaccurate versions of the play. Near about 18 plays of Shakespeare were published in quarto forms, and out of these, many were published in his lifetime. The play was performed before James I, King James I, in 1604. The immediate source for this play is supposed to be Cinthio's story, Un Capitano Moro, a Moorish captain, which means this was in Italian, a Moorish captain. So the story is supposed to have been based on this story of Cinthio, Un Capitano Moro. Suspicion that was planted by Iago in the mind of Othello is his tragic flaw. Next question that came in TGT 2016 was, which of the following is not a title to the play written by William Shakespeare? Henry VI, Henry IV, Henry VIII or Henry VII? And the correct answer is Henry VII was not written by Shakespeare. He wrote Henry VI. Henry VI was written in 3 parts. Henry IV was written in 2 parts. Henry VIII was unfinished. When it was being performed in 1613, the cannon burst, theatre burnt down. So it was not finished either. He did not write or compose Henry VII. Rather, he wrote Henry V. Henry V was published only in 1 part. Henry VIII was unfinished. Henry IV, the first part was published or performed in 1597 and printed in quarto form in 1598. And part 2, second part, this was the first part, second part was published in 1600. The main sources of history plays of Shakespeare is Edward Hall and Holinshed's Chronicles. Chronicles of British Monarchs. Monarchs by Edward Hall and Holinshed. And the Civil Wars of Samuel Daniels as well. The Civil Wars. So these 2 books were the sources for his history plays. Henry VI was tetralogy. Tetralogy means a group of 4 plays and was completed by the 4th play, Richard III. So the complete cycle of these plays, Henry VI part 1, Henry VI part 2, Henry VI part 3 and Richard III. Henry VII was written by Francis Bacon. The complete title is The History of the Reign of Henry VII, and this was published in 1622. And this was not a regular play, it was a kind of historical document. Next question that came in TGT 2013. Who revised King Lear so that Cordelia could marry Eager at the end? Was it Nahum Tate, Johnson, Richard Bentley or Thomas Rhymer? And the correct answer is it was Nahum Tate who refinished or revised the end of King Lear. The revised play is titled as The History of King Lear. It was his best work and published in 1681. So this was an adaptation of King Lear of Shakespeare. Nahum Tate was an Irish poet, lyricist, and he became poet laureate in 1692. He was the 3rd official poet laureate. The first one was John Dryden, second was Thomas Shadwell, and the third was Nahum Tate. John Dryden commissioned him to write the second part of Absalom and Achitophel. He was commissioned by John Dryden to write second part of Absalom and Achitophel in 1682. The best known poem by Nahum Tate is Panacea, a poem upon tea, that was published in 1700. It was a happy ending that Nahum Tate provided to this play, where Cordelia did not die. At the end she married Eager. Eager was the son of Gloucester, the legitimate son of Gloucester. Next question, who is the author of the line Tiger's heart wrapped in player's hide about Shakespeare? Was it Ben Jonson, Matthew Arnold, Christopher Marlowe or Robert Greene? The correct answer is it was Robert Greene who satirically or critically said this line about Shakespeare. The question came in TGT 2001. Robert Greene, in his famous phrase, the upstart crow won. The complete extract runs like this. For there is an upstart crow, beautified with our feathers, that with his tiger's heart wrapped in a player's hide, supposes he is as well able to bombast out a blank verse as the best of you, and being an absolute Johannes factotum, is in his own conceit the only Shakespeare in the country. This was a kind of pamphlet, and the pamphlet was famous only for this criticism. This came in 1592. The complete title is Groat's Worth of Wit Bought with a Million of Repentance by Robert Greene. So Robert Greene is criticizing the growing popularity of Shakespeare. As Shakespeare was not an academician, he did not have any formal training or formal education, and still he was getting popularity. So Robert Greene, who was one of the university wits and a university scholar, felt that the kind of innovation that were being used in plays, that is basically he was criticizing him on the use of blank verse. And Shakespeare felt himself to be Johannes factotum. Johannes factotum means a jack of all trade. He felt that Shakespeare did not know anything, and in spite of it, he felt that he would do everything. He was acting, he was writing script for the plays, he was using blank verse as a master could use. So he felt that he was merely a hypocrite and unworthily he was getting popularity. So sometimes we can feel that he was jealous of the growing popularity of Shakespeare, and as such he gave this piece of criticism. So he was merely an upstart crow, beautified with our feathers. Feathers means the innovations, the technique that were developed in the time of Elizabethan, and Shakespeare was exploiting those, मेकिंग द बेस्ट ऑफ दोज टेक्निक्स, वो चाहे ब्लैंक वर्ड्स की हो या फिर प्लेस की कन्वेंशंस हो, ड्रामाज की कन्वेंशंस हो, कैरेक्टराइजेशंस हो, जो भी हो, वो शेक्सपियर बहुत अच्छे तरीके से उसको यूज कर रहा था। तो इनको लगा कि ये हमारे टेक्निक से और हमारी लर्निंग को यूज करके खुद पॉपुलैरिटी दे रहा है। सो ये एक्सट्रैक्ट दो तीन चीजों के लिए फेमस है। एक तो शेक्सपियर एज एन अपस्टार्ट क्रो एंड हीज हार्ट वाज टाइगर्स हार्ट रैप्ड इन players. Hide means a kind of skin, guys, and he was using blank words, though he was not that much qualified for using it. Shakespeare did not introduce or develop blank words. It was Earl of Surrey Henry Howard who used it for the first time, and with a master touch it was used by Christopher Marlowe, and he felt himself to be Johannes factotum. Next question. The quote, love looks not with the eyes but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind, occurs in A Midsummer Night's Dream, Love's Labour's Lost, Antony and Cleopatra, and Merry Wives of Windsor. The question came in TGT 2011. The correct answer is option A. It was in A Midsummer Night's Dream that it was used. This is a part of soliloquy by the character Helena. Actually, Helena was abandoned by her lover Demetrius. Left by her lover Demetrius. So she felt depressed, she felt heartbroken, and then she is thinking about the power or the transforming power of love. As a matter of fact, Demetrius is in love with Hermia. So Helena feels trust broken, heartbroken, and as such she is expressing this thought. So love looks not with the eyes but with the mind. What she means to say that love can make any useless or worthless thing look beautiful. When a person is in love, so his sense of judgment, his power of judgment does not work at all. He is not able to distinguish the good and the bad, the beautiful and the ugly, the worthy and the unworthy. It is common fact that love is blind, and as such the winged Cupid, the god of love, is painted blind. The paintings of Cupid are shown to be blind because a person badly in love does not see or loses the power of his observation or distinguishing between the worthy and the unworthy. So Helena feels that she is beautiful, worthier, more capable, and she loves Demetrius more than Hermia does, but still Demetrius is in love with Hermia. So it was a kind of shock to her. She did not anticipate it, and as such she felt heartbroken. Midsummer Night's Dream is a comedy. It was printed in 1595. The sources for this drama can be Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, Transformation of Ovid by Ovid, the poet Ovid. Next question that came in UK Uttarakhand GIC in 2018. There is a soul of goodness in things evil would mean observingly distill it out. Who has written it? Was it Ben Jonson, Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, and G.B. Shaw? As we are dealing with the questions of William Shakespeare, so the answer of this question is William Shakespeare wrote these lines. These lines were spoken in Henry V. Henry V, Act 4, Scene 1. The lines are spoken by King Henry himself. So what he means to say that there can be some sort of goodness even in the things evil. Only the power of observation is to be developed. If a person has power of observation, so even some sort of goodness or a particle of goodness or Some portion of goodness can be found in the things evil. The only thing that is required is the power of observation. The lines are addressed to Gloucester. The play was written in 1599 and was printed in 1600 and first published in first folio. The sources, as I've already told you, for all his chronicle plays are Edward Hall and Holinshed's Chronicles. In this play, there is a mention of the character Falstaff. Falstaff primarily occurred in Henry IV, Part 1 and Part 2, and in Merry Wives of Windsor. And the third play that there is a mention of Falstaff is Henry V. Here his death has been eulogized by the innkeeper. Next question. Choose the one that does not match. That came in PGT 2010. Touchstone, As You Like It, Goneril, King Lear, Cinna, Julius Caesar, Gobbo, and Twelfth Night. And the answer is D. Touchstone is a character in As You Like It. Goneril was one of the daughters of King Lear. There were three daughters, Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. Goneril and Regan, they were the bad daughters. They cheated King Lear of his trust, of his property. Cinna, there were two Cinnas in Julius Caesar. One is Cinna the poet, and one Cinna was the conspirators. Cinna the poet was unfortunately killed by the public, killed by the mob that was instigated by Antony. Even Cinna told that he was not the conspirator, he was the poet, but the mob did not listen to him, and then he was mercilessly killed by the mob. That was unfortunate. Lancelot Gobbo. Lancelot Gobbo appeared in The Merchant of Venice. Actually, he was the servant to Shylock. But then Lancelot Gobbo switches his allegiance to Bassanio. Initially, he was servant to Shylock, and then he switches his allegiances to Bassanio. He is also friendly with Jessica. Jessica was the daughter of Shylock. Next question. Who describes the ideal commonwealth in The Tempest? Ferdinand, Miranda, Prospero, or Gonzalo? And it was Gonzalo, one of the benefactors or well-wishers of Prospero. He imagined some kind of ideal commonwealth. Actually, the concept of commonwealth was developed by Plato in Republic, and it was further used by Thomas More in Utopia, that was published in 1516 in Latin. So Shakespeare also, through some small passages, he developed some kind of commonwealth, the idea of commonwealth. The complete passage runs like this: in the commonwealth I would by contraries execute all things, for no kind of traffic would I admit. So he would, if he is given the power to execute the things according to his own, he would do all the things contrary. Whatever things were being done in the present state, he would do something different, opposite. There would not be any kind of traffic, there would not be any kind of magistrates, so there would not be any judiciary system, no crime, no punishment. Letters should not be known. So the letters or the formal education, there won't be any concept of education at all in his ideal commonwealth. The people will not run after riches, they will not be poor, they will not be slaves. So there would not be any slave, any rich, any poor. The concept of poor, rich, slavery, master, this relationship would not be there. The contracts, succession, born, bound of land, tithe, vineyard, none. So people will not run after land holding or succession, the power politics, the transfer of power, the gaining of power. The people will not be concerning their life with all these things. They will not run after the provisions of life as well. No use of metal, corn, wine, oil, no occupation. People will not have any occupation at all. The people will be idle. So it will not be an ideal commonwealth. It can be the ideal commonwealth. The people will remain lethargic. The women too will remain idle, innocent and pure. The people, the men will not run after women. They will not outrage the modesty of women, and as such, women will remain innocent and pure. There won't be any sovereignty, any patriarchy, any kingship. So his ideal commonwealth will be ideal commonwealth rather than ideal commonwealth. The speech was there in Act 2, Scene 1. Next question. The author of How Many Children Lady Macbeth Had? The essay was written by A.C. Bradley, Elsie Knight, Q.D. Lewis or Frank Kermode? The correct answer is it was L.C. Knight who wrote this piece of criticism or piece of modern criticism on William Shakespeare. L.C. Knight wrote the important critical piece of critique on Shakespeare by the title How Many Children Had Lady Macbeth? And here in the first paragraph of this essay, the statement is Macbeth is a statement of evil. So this is famous line as well of this essay. It can also be asked in the examination where the line Macbeth is a statement of evil is used. So it was in How Many Children Lady Macbeth Had by L.C. Knight. The essay was published in 1933. Q.D. Lewis was the wife of F.R. Lewis. F.R. Lewis, who is known for his critique or critical works and his journal Scrutiny. She also helped him in running this journal from 1932 to 1951. Frank Kermode is basically known for the the book on literary criticism, The Sense of an Ending. It is on theory of fiction. It is one of the most important books on theory of fiction. He is also famous for the work on Shakespeare, the Arden edition literary of works of William Shakespeare. The Tempest, particularly in the context of Tempest, the ardent edition of the works of William Shakespeare. That book came out in 1954. A.C. Bradley, as you know, he is mainly known for Shakespearean tragedy. Shakespeare tragedy. So, if any person studied Shakespeare's tragedy and he brought out many concepts of tragedies from Shakespeare, it was the famous critic A.C. Bradley. Next question, if we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss. And if we live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. Who says these lines? Westmoreland, Bedford, King Henry or Salisbury? And the correct answer is it was King Henry in Henry V. The lines were composed in Act 4th, Scene 3rd. And they were spoken by King Henry to Westmoreland, and he is talking about the gain and the loss to the country and gain to himself. He says that if they are fated to die as mortal beings, if they are fated to die, if they happen to die in one of the strife or struggles, so they are enough to die for our country, and country will not be affected so much, though it will be a great loss to the nation if they happen to die, if they happen to be killed. So it will be a great loss to the nation, but they will be only few. Only few people will be dying. And if they happen to survive, so these fewer people will share greater honor, greater power, greater share of power, greater share of honor. So it will be a win-win situation for them. If they die, they will die for the country. The country will be affected to certain extent. The country will have a loss. And if they happen to live, they will have greater share of power and honor. So he wants to let it come what may. The question came in PGT 2010. Next question. Who has spoken the following words in Shakespeare? The sleeping and the dead are but pictures. It is the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. The lines were spoken by first witch, third witch, second witch, none of them. The correct answer is it is none of them. Actually, the lines were spoken by Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, who is also supposed to be or referred to be fourth witch. So she discusses with Macbeth. Actually, when Macbeth had killed King Duncan, he felt conscience stricken, he felt guilt ridden, he felt very guilty. He felt that he won't have any peace hereafter. He feels that the sleep is no more in him. He won't be able to sleep peacefully because he had committed a regicide, he had committed a sin, and then he won't get any peace as such. And the sleep will frighten him. The dead will frighten him. The picture of dead king will frighten him. So Lady Macbeth consoles him, she tries to encourage him, she tries to repel his doubt and fear, she tries to or encourages him to be bold enough to manage the situation, and she says that the sleeping and the dead, the person who is sleeping and the person who is dead, they are merely pictures, and a man cannot be scared by the pictures. These sleeping people and the dead people cannot scare a man as the pictures cannot scare. It is that eye of childhood, only the children can be scared by the pictures. The picture can only scare, frighten children, not the man. Man like Macbeth. Macbeth is bold person, a brave person, and he should reflect boldness through his gestures. So here she is instigating him to bear. The line came in Act 2, Scene 2. Next question, to which character in Shakespeare's Hamlet does the following description apply? The tedious wiseacre who meddles his way to his doom. Was it for Claudius, Polonius, Hamlet and Rosencrantz? And the correct answer is it was for Hamlet himself. Tedious means tiring. Wiseacre means a wise person or a person who possesses wisdom or a person who pretends to possess wisdom. So Hamlet was a wise person undoubtedly, but he meddles, he involves his way to his doom. He interferes his way to his doom. His lack of taking action, though he had objective enough to take action, but his noble inaction, his sense of inability to carry out his design led him to his doom. Had he promptly taken the action, he would be the happy man. He would have taken the revenge on the death of his father. But he spent too much time in thinking and thinking and thinking. Instead of just bringing fall to Claudius, he brought the fall to his own life as well. He brought his own doom. And this doom was brought out by his inaction only. So this line refers to his inaction. Next question, which of the following plays of Shakespeare has an epilogue? Was it The Tempest, Hamlet, Henry IV Part 1 or Twelfth Night? And the correct answer is it is The Tempest, the play which has epilogue. Actually, this is the only play of Shakespeare which is supposed to be in accordance with the rules of classical drama, the classical conventions. The Tempest has unity of action, unity of place, unity of time. It has an epilogue as well. So what is an epilogue? It is a kind of speech by the characters to conclude the play or to comment on the character or the event of the play. It can be chorus, it can be one of the characters, it can be the dramatist himself who says something after the play ends. So epilogue is opposite to prologue, and this particular epilogue that was used in The Tempest was by Prospero. Prospero, when he accomplishes his task, when he made all the people realize their mistake, so he felt a sense of accomplishment. In the end, he finally says that he is saying goodbye to his magic. He is just drowning his magical wand. He is just giving up his books on magic, because the objective of his learning magic is accomplished. He wanted to let these people suffer in their conscience, the people who were responsible for his misfortune and the misfortune of his daughter. So he wanted to teach them a lesson, and after he has taught them a lesson, the people realize their mistake. Finally, he accepts. It is a kind of confession that he had committed many sins, and in the end he seeks forgiveness as well. So this epilogue is in the form of an apology, a forgiveness for what he had done. Perhaps he may have committed some sins, some crimes during this proceeding. So he seeks apology, he seeks forgiveness. Interestingly, Shakespeare used epilogue in one of the other plays, that is As You Like It. In As You Like It, he also used an epilogue about epilogue itself, where he says, if it is true that good wine needs no bush, it is true that a good play needs no epilogue. If he does not find an epilogue so important in the play, so why does he use epilogue in this As You Like It and epilogue in The Tempest? Perhaps he wanted to satirize or criticize the adherence of some of the dramatists to classical conventions. He did not follow classical conventions in all his plays except in tits and bits like this. So he wanted to comment on. He says that in order to make a good wine, we don't need some bush or some kind of jhad. So it is not necessary. The important thing is grapes to make wine. So the content is important for making the play successful, not the epilogue. Epilogue is least important, and he has successfully proved even. Almost all his dramas are without epilogue, save As You Like It and The Tempest, and these dramas are successful. So he used epilogue in As You Like It and in Tempest, and in As You Like It he wrote epilogue about the epilogue in epilogue section. Next question, who said it? How poor are they that have not patience? What wound did ever heal but by degrees? Was it Othello, Iago, Cassio, Desdemona? The correct answer is it was Iago who said these words to Roderigo in Act 2, Scene 3 about the process of wound healing. Roderigo feels wounded to his pride, and Iago wanted him to remain in Cyprus. Actually, Cyprus was the place of his dominance, where he had his dominance, complete dominance. So he wanted him to remain in Cyprus. So he is making him understand that the people who don't possess patience are really poor. The noblest qualities of the people is to have patience. So those who don't have patience, they are poor. And he is also making him understand that it is a natural process to heal the wound. It is not miraculous thing to touch the wound and then it is healed. It can be done only in imagination. But in real life, the wound heals itself following certain process. It takes time. It takes degrees. So gradually every wound is healed. So if he feels trust broken, honor broken, so it takes some time. He should wait for that. He should have patience. Next question, who states these words for Shakespeare? Soul of the age, the applause, the delight, the wonder of our stage. Was it Matthew Arnold, Ben Jonson, T.S. Eliot, T. Egerton? The correct answer is it was Ben Jonson who wrote these words for William Shakespeare in his poem, that is Eulogy. Eulogy is a praise of song. Song of praise. Song of praise for William Shakespeare. The title of the poem is To the Memory of My Beloved, the Author, Mr. William Shakespeare. And here he says that Shakespeare is the soul of the age, Elizabethan age. If the people tend to feel delightful, it is Shakespeare that made them delightful. And he is the wonder of our stage. Shakespeare was a wonder master. This poem is packed with all such expressions. If we know Ben Jonson has said something about William Shakespeare, so he has said them in one poem, that is To the Memory of My Beloved, the Author. Just like thou hast small Latin and less Greek. This expression is one of the most popular expressions on Shakespeare. So this was used in this poem as well. Marlowe's mighty line was also used in this poem. Shakespeare was invoked as my gentle Shakespeare by Ben Jonson in this poem only. And Shakespeare is said to be sweet swan of Avon in this poem only. So all such kind of critical comments or praise, words of praise about Shakespeare are used only in this poem. Next question, which of the following plays is a social satire with fashion and fads of the day? Was it A Midsummer Night's Dream, Antony and Cleopatra, Love's Labour's Lost, and none of the above? And the play is Love's Labour's Lost. It is one of the earliest comedies of Shakespeare. The question came in 2016. The play was performed before Elizabeth I at Inns of Court. The play was written in 1595 and it was printed in quarto form in 1598. The play ends with two songs, one by Cuckoo and one by Owl. When the daisies pied and the violets blew. And the other song is When the Icicle Hang by the Wall. These two famous songs were there in Love's Labour's Lost. Play was very much a social satire on the fashion and fads of the day. Next question, who is known as the Melancholy Man in As You Like It? Was it Tuston, Jacques, Sylvius, Corin? And the correct answer is it is Jacques. Jacques was the attendant of Duke the Senior, and he is always supposed to be the melancholy man. He seems to be possessing the hopelessly melancholy disposition. Melancholy was natural to him. In one of his speeches, we can cite or we can prove that he was a man of melancholy, where he says I can suck melancholy out of a song as a weasel sucks egg. So just like an insect or a bird, weasel is a kind of bird. Just like the bird sucks egg, he can naturally sucks melancholy. Sucks means extract. So he can extract melancholy out of any song. His famous song, The World is a Stage, and the motley is the only wear. Our nature is changeable. So wherever he opens his mouth, there is melancholy emerges. Next question, which of the following is a dominant theme of Shakespearean play King Lear? Was it jealousy, revenge, ambition, filial ingratitude? Correct answer is it is filial ingratitude. Filial ingratitude means ingratefulness by the son or daughter. Filial is for son or daughter, as spouse for wife or husband, sibling for brother and sister, parent for mother or father. In the same way, filial is for son or daughter. It is for the ingratefulness shown by son or daughter in the play. And it is not the one character, there are two characters who suffer the same thing. King Lear and Gloucester. King Lear suffers the ingratefulness of Goneril and Regan. Gloucester suffers the same ingrateful nature from his illegitimate son Edmund. Both these they suffer the same kind of filial ingratitude. In one of the speeches, King Lear says that ingratitude, thou marble hearted fiend, more hideous when thou showest them in a child. So he addresses ingratitude after personifying it, that it is most marble hearted fiend. Fiend means enemy. Ingratitude is just like an enemy which has no sympathy, empathy, or feeling. When any person turns ingrateful, he loses all kinds of feelings, sympathies, empathies. What is more important and what is more severe, when this ingratitude is shown in the child, it is heartbreaking. You can tolerate the ingrateful nature of a friend, of any relative, of any person associated with you. But when your own son or daughter turns ingrateful, this is hard thing to bear. So he says that you become more hideous, more ugly, more deformed when you show yourself in a child. When the child turns ingrateful, this is the most shocking and this is the most torturing feeling ever. We can hardly tolerate a son or a daughter turning ingrateful. So both Lear and Gloucester they suffer from this filial ingrateful. Next question, who exclaims in his sonnet that under this carved marble of thine own sleep brave tragedian Shakespeare, sleep alone? Was it Ben Jonson, Michael Drayton, John Dryden, William Bass? The correct answer is it is William Bass, who wrote a sonnet on Mr. William Shakespeare. And this is also a kind of eulogy on Shakespeare. He wrote something in praise of William Shakespeare. Many writers have written many poems, many articles on Shakespeare, one of which we have already considered of Ben Jonson. In the memory of my beloved, the author Mr. William Shakespeare. Similarly, William Bass has written this sonnet on Mr. William Shakespeare. Matthew Arnold has also written a sonnet on Shakespeare. Others abide our question, thou art free. Next question, who is known as the fourth witch among Shakespeare's women characters? Desdemona, Lady Macbeth, Gertrude, Cordelia. The correct answer is it is Lady Macbeth who is supposed to be fourth witch. Desdemona occurred in Hamlet. She was a gentle-hearted lady. Gertrude was a mixed character. She was manipulated further by Claudius. Cordelia was the fair or the righteous girl of or daughter of King Lear. Lady Macbeth was a kind of fourth witch. Why she is called witch? Because in the beginning Macbeth was instigated by the three witches. Three witches, when they appeared before Macbeth, they instigated him. They enkindled some kind of ambition in him of becoming king hereafter. They prophesied that he will be the king. So he felt that he would be the king. However, his wife instigated him regularly. Whenever he felt weak, whenever he felt lack of courage, whenever he seemed to be losing his faith or faith in his ambition, whenever he felt weak in his ambition, this fourth witch, this Lady Macbeth, his wife, instigated him further. Even whenever he felt conscience stricken or guilt ridden, she was the lady who supported him, encouraged him, or consoled him for all his doom. Three witches and his wife, they were responsible. If we feel that vaulting ambition was the tragic flaw of Macbeth, this tragic flaw, vaulting ambition, why it vaulted other kind of passions, why this ambition proved to be dangerous or out of control. So it was because of all these three witches and this fourth witch. Macbeth did not have this ambition. He may have been ambitious, but he did not want to kill any person to become a king. He was the righteous person. But the instigation provided by the three witches, and this was further aggravated by his wife. They proved finally, or they led him to his final doom. So this ambition was enkindled, evolved by this lady. That's why she has been called fourth witch. Next question, in which of the following plays do we find these lines? There needs no ghost, my lord, come from the grave to tell us this. Was it from King Lear, Hamlet, Macbeth, or Henry IV? The correct answer is it was in the play Hamlet. The lines were spoken by Horatio to Hamlet in Act 1, Scene 5th. Actually, when the ghost of Prince Hamlet appeared before the scene and he desired to meet Hamlet to tell him about what had happened to him, how he had died, and how his uncle was involved in all this, how his uncle had murdered him and married his mother later on. So Hamlet was discussing with Horatio about this happening and about what to do. However, Horatio was a man of the world, a man of practical wisdom, and he wanted to rationalize Hamlet that there is no such thing like ghost. These supernatural elements don't exist, and then he should not take so much attention, he should not take so much pain, he should not heed towards it so much. He should forget it. It may be a certain kind of trick, it may be a certain kind of fraud. Perhaps this was an evil spirit and wanted to fraud, cheat Hamlet of his belief, of his real vision. There he says, there needs no ghost, my lord, come from this grave to tell us this. So Horatio seems to be incredulous. He does not believe it. However, Hamlet says to him that these things exist, and not only this, they have their active role in the lives of human beings. When he says, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. So Hamlet wants to make him realize that there are many things in heaven and earth which are not encompassed by the rational philosophy or science. By philosophy he means science. So there are many things, many entities in nature between heaven and earth that are not studied by science. They are beyond science. So he believes in the existence of ghosts and supernatural elements. He is inclined, Hamlet is inclined to believe what the ghost has told. He is inclined to believe that King Claudius may be the culprit. Next question, which work has been called by Shakespeare as the first heir of my invention? Was it Hero and Leander, Rape of the Lucrece, Venus and Adonis, and Comedy of Errors? The correct answer is Venus and Adonis. Actually, it was first published in 1593. So it was his one of the earliest and immature works. It is a long narrative poem. It was based on Ovid's Metamorphoses. It was dedicated to Henry Wriothesley, the Earl of Southampton, the patron of Shakespeare. It was written in 6-line stanza, that is also known as sesta rima. Sesta rima, actually it is a quatrain followed by a couplet. Quatrain, AB, AB just like, and concluding couplet, CC, just like. Rape of the Lucrece was also his another long narrative poem that came in 1594. Hero and Leander was written by Marlowe, that also came in 1593. Actually, Venus and Adonis was modeled after this Hero and Leander. He wrote in the imitation of Marlowe's Hero and Leander. Comedy of Error is not a long narrative poem, actually it is a drama. The question came in TGT 2016. Next question, which of the following flowers does the mad Ophelia not give away? Violets, rosemary, pansies, columbines. The correct answer is it is violets. Actually, all these flowers have their extended meaning in the context of the play. They are not merely flowers, they symbolize many other things. So each flower symbolizes some other attribute, and accordingly they were given by Ophelia. She wanted some flowers to be given to Laertes and other characters, but she does not want to give some flower just like violets to anyone, because violet symbolizes faithlessness. or it is connected to death. So she does not want this violet to anybody. Rosemary symbolizes remembrance, and she wanted it to be given to Laertes. When Laertes was going away, she presented him this rosemary so that he could remember her. So this symbolizes remembrance. Pansies are also given to Laertes, and they are for thoughts. So he should keep them in his thoughts. Columbines are connected with ingratitude. They symbolize ingrateful nature or ingratitude, and as such, she wanted to give these columbines to Gertrude or Claudius, because these two characters, they have ingratefulness in them. Queen Gertrude, she betrayed the trust of her husband. After the death of her husband, she married hurriedly, and Claudius was a fraud person, even. We all know. Next question, the rest is silence. These are the last words before his death in Shakespeare. Who was the character? Shakespeare, Caesar, Hamlet, Macbeth, Lear. The correct answer is, it is Hamlet. Actually, when Hamlet died, he spoke these very last words. The rest is silence. Why he says the rest is silence? Actually, he wanted this message to be communicated to Fortinbras. Fortinbras was all set to come and rule his state, and Hamlet wanted to give his vote to Fortinbras. So he wanted the message to be communicated where he says that the strife is over, the struggle is over, the power hunger is over, the domestic strife, the civil war condition, means the resentment among the lords, it is almost over. Now no villain is there in the state. The villain Claudius is dead, and all with him all the other people are also dead. So Fortinbras can come safely and rule the state. So rest is silence, everything is silence. The last question is, it is said that Shakespeare based his Julius Caesar on certain incidents of this time era. Which of these it is said to be? The execution of Sir Walter Raleigh, the formation of trade relation with East, rebellion of the Duke of Essex, the supremacy of Spain on land and sea. The correct answer is C. When Julius Caesar was published in 1601, there was the episode of the rebellion by Duke of Essex against Elizabeth. So the opening scene of Julius Caesar reflects or alludes to this rebellion. It indirectly refers to the rebellion by Duke of Essex against Queen Elizabeth. So this opening scene reflects the plot of Essex. Plot means the conspiracy. He has the conspiracy to rebel against Queen Elizabeth, and the closing year of Queen Elizabeth as well. Queen Elizabeth was diminishing in her power. She was becoming feeble as well. She was in her last phase of life. So these people, they thought it to be the opportunity to overcome or to dominate the state, dominate England. At that situation, Duke of Essex rebelled against Queen Elizabeth. So this episode is alluded to. So that is all for now. Hopefully the questions I have dealt with in this video will add something to your existing knowledge of Shakespeare. These questions were the selected ones and will certainly give you a clear picture and idea about what kind of questions they have asked on Shakespeare. Moreover, the associating information that I have imparted with these questions will be helpful for your preparation and idea of Shakespeare for your upcoming examination. So stay tuned for more such videos. We'll be back very soon with you with yet another video on some another writer for your upcoming examination of UP, TGT and PGT. So like this video, share it among your friends, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, make it as a point to do it right now. Thanks for watching.